generalization. It is a translation technique that is used to translate specific terms in the search language into general terms in the target language. So, for the example, in the search language, it took 3 hours for us to get to the airport by car or train. We know that in the search language, the translator gave specific term of car and train as the name of the transportation. While in the target language, the translator changed the sentence of search language into kami membutuhkan waktu 3 jam untuk sampai ke bandara menggunakan transportasi darat. So, in the target language here, the translator changed the specific term of car and train into transportasi darat as a general term in the target language. Why it happens? It happens because there is no expression has the same meaning or the specific terms in the target language. Next, linguistic amplification. It is the translation technique that adds a linguistic element to the translation text. In common, this technique is usually used in interpreting or penerjemahan lisan and dubbing. And the other, in linguistic amplification, there is the addition of words and word structures in the target language. For example, in the search language, dolphin comes out and jumps over the fire hole. While in the target language, the sentence in the search language is translated into lumba-lumba itu keluar dari air dan melompat melewati lingkaran api. So, you can see that in the target language, there is the addition of word air. In keluar dari air, from comes out in the search of language. The translator gave the addition of word air in the target language to clarify the meaning of the word. Linguistic compression. It is a technique that is used to synthesize or reduce linguistic elements in the target language. Reducing the linguistic element in a sentence to cut or shorten the duration of the pronunciation of a sentence in order that the duration is shorter. So let's see the example. In the search language, there is this puppet will put a smile on their faces. While in the target language, the sentence of the search language is translated into boneka ini akan membuat mereka tersenyum. So from the target language here, we know that the translator removes the two words put and their faces from search language to make a reasonable translation in the target language. Boneka ini akan membuat mereka tersenyum. Okay, literal translation. It is the translation technique that translates an expression word or a word for word. So, in a meaningful way, in the literal translation technique, the message may not be conveyed. So, you can see the example. In the search language, killing two birds with one stone. While in the target language, membunuh dua burung dengan satu batu. Killing two birds with one stone in the search language is a proverb in English which means doing two jobs at the same time. So the message of the search language killing two birds with one stone is not conveyed in the target language. So the translator just translate word for word, membunuh dua burung dengan satu batu.
The next is modulation. Modulation is to change the point of view, focus, or cognitive category in relation to the search language. It can be lexical or structural. So, modulation is a shift in cognitive categories, and in here, the translator changes the point of view and focus or cognitive category related to the search language. Example, you are going to have a baby as a search language, and the target language, kamu akan menjadi ayah. And then there is, my bread was eaten by him as a search language, and the target language, dia yang makan rotiku. And another example, I broke my leg as a search language, and the target language is kakiku patah. Next is particularization. So it is the using of a more precise or concrete term. Example, to translate window in English as guichet or jendela toko in French. And another example is search language. Kami membutuhkan waktu 2 jam untuk mencapai kota ini menggunakan kendaraan darat. And the target language, it takes 2 hours for us to get to this city by car. The word of search language kendaraan darat is as a car in target language. And other example is the word jewelry in search language means kalung emas in target language. Reduction. So reduction is used to suppress or decrease the search language information item in target language. This is the opposite of amplification technique or clauses with omission that means the explicit information from search language changes the implicit information to target language. For example, the proposal was rejected and repudiated into usulnya ditolak when translating into Indonesian. Or Surabaya, the capital city of East Java province, is also known as City of Heroes. Translating Indonesia as Surabaya juga dikenal sebagai kota pahlawan. And then the capital city of East Java province is known as Surabaya. And then another example is the month of fasting and translating into target language as bulan Ramadan. Next is substitution linguistic and paralinguistic. So it is the change of linguistic elements for paralinguistic elements such as intonation or gesture or vice versa. Example, to translate the Arab gesture of putting your hand on your heart as thank you or Japanese bow each other, it means that they are greeting each other or orang Jepang memberi salam kepada orang lain. It is used above all in interpreting. The next is transposition. So transposition is the changing word class without changing the meaning or grammatical categories. For example, glasses translated into Indonesian as kacamata. And then blue book translated into Indonesia as buku biru. The last technique is variation. So variation is the change of linguistic or a paralinguistic element that affects the aspect of linguistic variation. So the elements changes of textual tone, style, social dialect, and geographical dialect. For example, to introduce or change dialectal indicators for characters when translating for the theater. And changes in tone when adapting novel for children. Or another example is search language. He will never get to sleep with all this din, said Malion. And then the target language is Leo tidak akan bisa tidur jika ramai seperti ini, kata Bu Singa. Okay, that's all the presentation from Group 4. If you have any question related to the material, don't be hesitate to ask us on the group chat basic of translation class, and we will answer the question to the best of our abilities. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.